I think some people forget just how gritty the live-action Lord of the Rings movies are. I was rewatching those movies recently, as I tend to do, extended edition of course, and it struck me just how grimy and gritty a lot of the locations and characters were. Sure, you have the incredibly pristine places like Rivendell and Lothlorien, but even there, in certain places like where the pieces of Narsil are held, ambient leaves and detritus still blow through. And all throughout the movie, the members of the Fellowship are rarely without a certain layer of dirt covering them. Even in the more tranquil settings like the Shire, whenever there is a close-up of Frodo or Bilbo's hands, those hands are not freshly washed. They have a very natural amount of grime between the lines on their hands, which you would expect to see build up on the hands of people who live in a farming community like the Shire. And oh man, Aragorn, heir to the throne of Gondor, is the human equivalent of a wet cat throughout most of the trilogy. That man does not get a proper bath until like the end of Return of the King. Only Legolas remains relatively clean, and even he has some battle damage and grime after big battles like Helm's Deep. Not much, but he is a Tolkienian elf, so... But I find this so fascinating because I feel like the terms gritty and realistic are flung around like they're some sort of subversion of fantasy, despite the most fantasy of all fantasy movies being dirty and grimy with battle scenes that are intense and impactful without excessive gore. Like seriously, you don't need gushing blood and close-ups of heads being caved in by blades to sell the impact of a battle scene. There are certainly times and places for such stuff, but I see a lot of things be like, yeah, we're not like that sissy Tolkien stuff, we're better because we have lots of blood. Completely forgetting the fact that the Lord of the Rings films do not lack in blood. They're simply more strategic with it, focusing instead on the tragedy rather than the spectacle of it. Not everything needs to be slathered in mud and feces to be realistic. It just needs to have a natural wear and signs of use.